Hello everyone and welcome to the Pisces Guide to Pop Culture. I'm of course your host TJ, coming back after a bout of laryngitis. Still have a little bit, but we're going to power through. We're now into the third chapter of the Fellowship of the Ring, appropriately called Three's Company, in which Frodo, Sam, Pippin, and Frodo, Sam, and Pippin set off to Crick Hollow. And I think it's a really fun chapter in some ways. There's this little interlude with a fox, which has always kind of entertained me, and I've always found myself wondering, what did this fox get up to after this little encounter with the hobbits? But it's also a very frightening chapter because it marks one of the moments when we actually meet the Black Riders or the Nazgul. And I think even from the very few glimpses that we get of them, whether it's the hissing stranger with the gaffer or it's the Black Rider along the road, really captures, something sinister. And I really enjoy that about the Lord of the Rings. And I've said here before that Tolkien manages to sort of juggle various affective registers even within the space of a chapter. So in this we get the whimsical fox who never finds any more about what happens to three hobbits out in the wild, but we also get this very malevolent presence that we don't actually know, and neither does Frodo, what it is, why these Black Riders are pursuing them exactly, let alone who they are. And yet at the same time we have this moment of sort of mysticism, of magic and joy when the elves arrive and thankfully scare off said Black Rider and keep him from finding the hobbits. And so this one chapter manages to put into play several different emotions and makes us feel different things, as well as giving us some narrative propulsion as Frodo finally sets out and realizes that he can't stay in the Shire any longer, and that it's no longer safe for him. It's really important and even indeed life-saving for him to get out of there as quickly as possible. And so, as I've said, there's no chapter of Lord of the Rings in any three of the three volumes that I don't absolutely adore. But this one has always stood out to me. And, I remember when I first started reading this book, 30 years ago, if not slightly more, being frightened along with the hobbits of what are these malevolent Black Riders that we'll find out have this sinister wail. And I don't know, it's just really creepy and horror movie-esque. And I think that because Tolkien has such a cinematic way of writing and describing scenes and kind of giving us all the different emotional and physical attributes that we would feel were we in Frodo's situation, we end up feeling it just as much as he does. And so, as a result, this ends up being a very suspenseful chapter that nevertheless gives us, insight also into the kind of, not whimsical, but certainly the unreliability of elves in the sense that they don't really give a shit about Middle-earth anymore. So anyway, lots going on in this chapter. So as always, thanks so much for joining me as I make my way through Lord of the Rings. I truly do appreciate it. Hope you're all doing well. Take care, y'all.